scenario. In 3, 2, 1.
So focus on the franchise. One of the big advantages that we have, House of the Dragon is an example of that. Game of Thrones, taking advantage of Sex and the City. Lord of the Rings, we still have the right to do Lord of the Rings movies.
As we are gearing up to meet,
like I said,
an
not that
increasingly
entertaining.
challenging market environment, we have today stated that we are working on a transformative content and partnership deal, expected to be closed this financial year.
But here's the question they get asked by a shareholder and they have to answer.
Questions in the room?
Good morning, and thank you for the presentations. I wonder if there are any news or additional information that you can give us regarding the Tolkien IP.
Wow,
thrilling,
it's
right?
a very interesting question. Tolkien, we could spend an hour on that.
But you won't.
Well, obviously, we just closed the transaction after quarter end, early October, and we are now talking to all stakeholders, the state, the film companies, the business partners, the game companies, and we are taking the perspective to a very long-term view. How should we, together with the other stakeholders, develop the world-leading fantasy IP into the future? Gaming being one part of it. But it's too early to give color on our specific plans. I think we are still open-minded for, obviously, as always, input into that. I think it's also very interesting conversations around other medias than gaming relating to that IP. But unfortunately, I have to tell you, stay tuned for the future. Finally, looking at the entity.
And so he's very coy there.
It's yeah. He kept the way his behavior was. It was like he wanted to smile because there was something going on.
Yeah,
like that sort of thing. But it was like because he kept going like this, and it was almost like he was keeping it in by his body language and just trying to obviously say the right things and say the right words to not reveal too much. But there's something going on there.
My theory about all this stuff is that they're going to work out a licensing deal with Warner Brothers to clear up the rights issues that are existing. And I think the smart thing to do, which I think we all would like to see, or I would like to hear what you guys think about it anyways, is they need to do, and it's the 20th anniversary of Two Towers, I think, being released in the theaters. I could see them doing a re-release in the theaters of the extended editions. They're already made. If the rights are cleared up and you say you want to go back to theaters,
remaster them.
They're already in 4K, put them out in theaters again. People will come in droves.
I would love to experience that feeling again, to be quite honest.
I did that on New Year's Eve. I went and saw like all 3 of Lord of the Rings. It was so fun. There weren't like a ton of us in the theater, but we were like just yelling and just cheering. It was awesome. I had a good time.
Thanks. What were you saying?
I don't know. I would love to experience that again. What was it? Salty Texas Sea did an interview with me on, my love of Lord of the Rings and how I got introduced to it. And, of course, it was really, I didn't grow up with the books or the book itself, but I saw Lord of the Rings and, saw the Fellowship on VHS first from a cousin of mine, and then saw the Two Towers in theaters, but not on opening day. And then the Return of the King, I saw it was a true midnight showing because it was at midnight. My parents took me out of school for that because I was still at, I think it was either middle school or high school. I can't quite remember the year, but it's just, I would love to experience that again. I mean, I literally, even as a child, I wept when the Riders of Rohan came for Gondor's Aid. It was just, I literally wept as a child because I was so invested in this heroism, and they were yelling out death, and I'm just like, it was like another out of body experience for me. And I'm like, I have never had that in a film going to the theater ever again.
No.
I mean, I love a lot of these movies that have come and gone over the years, but I've never had that again. And I would love to experience that again. And it's just, I would love to see that movie again in the theater. I would go, I want the extended. Give me the extended. I don't want,
Yeah.
or the real movie, not the, cut down version. It's just, I would love to have that experience again. And yeah, I just would love to see that.
I think that, like, for me, it would be, I'd love to do that too. And I think we all would. And they did a re-release. Like, this has happened before. It happened with the Star Wars original trilogy before they were ramping up for the prequels. They did a staggered release of the original movies in theaters again, made tons of money because guess what? People want to go see movies they love.
Or it was like, it
there's
even
been enough
happened
time.
in streaming too, because that's like when House of the Dragon aired, like
Oh yeah.
Game of Thrones actually outperformed it in minutes watched.
And I think people were thinking that because Rings of Power was so shitty that nobody would want any Lord of the Rings stuff. But I think the opposite
But
has
they
happened.
did too. Yeah, I remember seeing that up on there too.
So I think that would be the way to start it, and then they could look at other projects after that. But these movies are made. We want to see them. We'll pay to see them in the theater. You want to do theaters. You need money in Embracer Group, and so do you, Warner. You guys are talking. I think that's the move, and then you build from there. Am I crazy, Teresa?
No, absolutely. Everything that you're saying is correct. Give us what we want, and I think anyone would go see the Lord of the Rings extended editions. And you're correct. I mean, I remember when Star Wars came out in the cinemas again in '97. George Lucas did everything right with that, and then with the prequels, with the way he financed it himself. And I'm sorry, kids, y'all need to start making love to us. You hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Making love, in a
Yes.
PG kind of a way. Start courting us again. Yeah, let's start off with that. But they're sitting on money, and they have been sitting on money for the whole time. I think that's why everyone just gets so frustrated.
Yep.
Is that all they have to do is just tell the story. Gosh darn it, it's becoming a broken record to say that, but it's the truth. Just give us the fecking story. I think that would be an amazing plan, and I'd go see it tomorrow if it came out in the movie theater.
And not only that, but like I'm more looking at like I'm not sure if anybody's heard of this, but like the Fathom events going on
Yeah.
that where they do re-releases
fun.
of a lot of these older films, or 10-year, 20-year, whatever type of films, and especially in anniversaries. And like last year, I went to go see, I've seen this movie 1,000 times on VHS, then DVD, growing up and everything else. I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark in a theater. And let me tell you, as somebody who only grew up with just the movie part because I wasn't old enough, I wasn't even born yet.
It's cool to see it.
It was I love that experience, seeing
And
that
with people.
yes, and with people.
Yeah.
And it was not like it
I love
was
the
almost
experience of other people in the theater, especially if
Yes.
it's a really crowded theater.
And
Like,
now-
it's like a-
and not only
That's
that, but I experiencing it on the screen, on the silver screen, so to speak, for the first time. That experience was so brand new to me. I was just like, wow, I already liked the movie. Don't get me wrong. I already
Mhm.
liked the movie. I enjoy the movie. I'll rewatch it like 1,000 times
no,
more.
it's just another
But
like level.
Watching
of
it on the screen, it's kind of like a big screen like that. It was just like it elevated my like for it a heck of a lot more. And it's just
There's nothing that beats those movies in the cinema. Gosh, I'm feeling very ancient right now because, well, I wasn't old enough for Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'll put it that way, but I was old enough for the others.
Well, it's
Yeah.
just like I'm gonna go see It's a Wonderful Life in theater
Yay!
in December, and I'm just I cannot wait to see that. I've seen Gone with the Wind in theaters.
Oh, I had
Yeah, me too. I saw the
Mhm.
re-release of that on IMAX, and I
Yeah.
saw Lords of Raven on IMAX. It's so cool to see it. Like, I think a lot of people just miss the like actual seeing a movie in like a large screen, like they were intended to be seen.
Mhm.
Yeah, I like that.
And the goodwill that they
Cool.
would curry from doing something like that with the audience in general. If you're Zaslav and you want to show off what Warner's going to do, just give us what we obviously want. You're going to make a ton of money. It's not going to cost you a lot. And
Yeah.
and there's a hole in the production because there's not a lot of stuff coming out in the next year. And they've said they didn't want to compete. Embracer said they didn't want to compete with Amazon Rings of Power. They want to give them their space. Well, that series is not coming out for another 2 years. So you
Yeah.
have a year with nothing coming out. Give us what we want.
Yeah, this summer we'd all go.
Yeah.
I mean,
Multiple times.
generations. Yeah,
I mean, we could all make it a huge event for just across our own channels. I mean, look how many people that is. It's just,
Yeah.
I mean, that would be fantastic.
Zax, what did you say earlier about what do you want them to do? What did you say you want the production company to do? You want them to...
Oh, Owl's beard. Enough with the quail sauce. Give me the meat and give it to me raw.
oh my gosh.
There
Give
you
it
go.
to me.
Give it to us raw, baby. Give us the movies raw. Honestly,
Good night,
give
Jacob.
us some longer extended.
Good
Night,
night,
Jacob.
Good night, Jacob.
Good night, Jacob.
So that's my hope, is that that's where this is going. And maybe I'm imagining things because I want them to be there, but like there are things that point to that direction where Embracer's talking to someone about something big that relates to Lord of the Rings, and Zaslav is bringing them up in his earnings call twice about franchises they want to use. So do it.
Give it
Flaccid,
to me raw.
would you go see that? Because you're like 19, so you've never seen these in a theater.
Yeah, I'm
Have you?
19. Depends who's asking.
Yeah.
I remember seeing these in theaters. My parents had such a weird upbringing, as from like a more based Christian, and base is in red pilled and based. It was such a weird dynamic in my household about what movies you could watch, because in Die Hard, I think I've told this story before, but they would cover my eyes, being like, "Oh, they're showing these like tits on screen for 1 second." They're like, "Cover your eyes, boys," and then the next scene, you see some guy's face getting bashed in, and they're like, "Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's good for you.
I know.
You know, put some hair on your chest." So, growing up,
Take notes, parents.
Take notes.
Don't
dude.
hide boobies
Yeah.
from your kids.
You want to be, mediocre YouTuber? Your children be mediocre YouTubers, hanging out with people twice their age?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, just do that for them. But the Lord of the Rings was great, and it's people and children, like we were talking about Narnia too. Kids want something like one step above their intelligence to watch. No one really watches things that are lower for them or right their age. They want to go like one step above, right? Like when you're 13 years old, you're not going to the PG-13 movies. You're trying to sneak into R, right? And go down the list. You're trying to get into PG-13 movies when you're age 10. So if they could bring these back into theaters and reach that audience that is reaching for good content that's right above them, they could make another generation like myself and many others that are in the early 2000s, like the millennials, that grew up watching The Lord of the Rings, because sometimes Tolkien's writing's not always for you, and you can get into the universe that way.
Mm-hmm.
So they should release these, and I'd love to go see them in the theaters again, because I originally did see them. And anyone that's giving me hate for my Christian background and my consumption of media, just know that I've watched all of Bible Man, and you guys are missing out. So.